Hello and thank you for joining me. This is Taliesin McKnight, and today's lesson is the three pillars on the Kabbalistic tree of life. You have the pillar of severity, the pillar of mercy, and then you have the middle pillar. And this is all about duality and opposites on the Kabbalistic tree of life, and about balancing opposites or extremes on the Kabbalistic tree of life. Now, the Kabbalistic tree of life is a glyph, a symbol that represents the process of creation. It represents the qualities or attributes within the divine. It is a map of the psyche and of the forces of nature. And in all these things, balance is required. Okay? So, that is the lesson for today. You have three columns on the Kabbalistic tree of life: the pillar of severity, the pillar of mercy, and the middle pillar. And there are many different ways to look at the Kabbalistic tree of life. It basically sums up the teachings of the Qabalah within this one symbol. So you could see how there's a whole bunch of different ways of looking at the tree of life. So, the two opposite pillars of severity and mercy are often represented. Well, they're represented by twin pillars, and these represent all opposites. And these are, the left pillar is Boaz, and the right-hand pillar is Jachin. And these two pillars symbolize all opposites. Okay, all opposites. And you'll notice if you look at the High Priestess card within the Rider-Waite Tarot deck and similar decks, you'll notice that the High Priestess sits in front of two pillars. On the left-hand pillar there is a B for Boaz, and on the right-hand pillar a J for Jachin in the High Priestess in the Tarot. Now, there is no J in Hebrew. It's the letter Yud. So it's properly pronounced Jachin, even though many English speakers mispronounce it as Jachin. There is no J in Hebrew. Just like many people pronounce it Jehovah. It was written in English with a J, and so people mispronounce the English transliteration of a Hebrew word as Jehovah. So anyways, so you have two opposite pillars within Freemasonry, within the Qabalah, and these represent, within the Qabalah, all opposites. They represent opposites. And as you could see, the Kabbalistic tree of life goes on these pillars, and then in between them, which makes up the middle pillar. So first of all, you have Keter, which means crown. Keter is a primal state of unity, and it transcends opposites. Now, all things stem from Keter. Keter has within it all the other 10 Sephirot. So Keter has all within it. So how come it transcends opposite? The reason that Keter, even though the whole tree is within the first Sephir of Keter, the reason it transcends opposites is because Keter is primal unity. There are no differences. There are no distinctions. All things spring from it, although there are no differences, no distinctions. All things that stem into being or existence from not being is an expression of the potentiality of Keter. That's a mouthful. That's a totally different subject. But yeah, now the next Sephirah is Chokhmah, which means wisdom. And this is the first Sephirah on the right-hand pillar of Jachin. Chokhmah is seen as masculine, symbolically, and it is a rush of energy. Binah is the next pillar, the next Sephirah, which is the first Sephirah on the pillar of Boaz, the left-hand pillar of severity. Now, in the process of creation, the Kabbalistic Tree of Life talks about the process of creation. The Zohar, which some people believe dates back around 2,000 years ago to the teachings of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai of the 1st century. But many scholars think that the Zohar probably date back to the 13th century to the Jewish Kabbalist Rabbi Moses de Leon. Rabbi Moses de Leon. So right here you have all opposites. Oh, what I was going to say, the process of creation, according to the Zohar, is you have this primal point. And what's interesting is that at least it seems to resemble the Big Bang, in a sense. I'm not saying it does. I'm saying it's interesting that, it talks about how everything began at a primal point, the Nekuda Reshit, the primal point. That's Keter. All things come from this point. Chokhmah, as I said, is a rush of energy. It's an explosion, a rush of energy from this point. So everything starts at a primal point and boom! Chokhmah is expansion. It is a rush of energy. Now Binah, which is attributed to Saturn, among other things, is about restriction. So after a rush of energy, Binah would be the cooling down and the slowing down and the giving of structure and form. So you have force and form. Well, anyways, I'll go a little deeper into these 3 Sephirot, which are called the supernal triad. But as you can see, Chokhmah means wisdom, Binah means understanding, and I'll go a little deeper into what these words mean here in a second. Chokhmah and Binah are opposites, and Keter transcends their opposites. And these make up a triad, which is called the supernal triad. Now, within occult symbolism, and notice Keter is the monad, a lot like you see in Pythagorean number symbolism. Anyways, now what is the symbolism of the triangle? The triangle within occult symbolism represents the union of opposites to create and the transcending of opposites. Okay, so that's the symbolism of the triangle, and this makes up a triad. Chokhmah and Binah are opposites, which Keter balances those two. The next triad, often called the ethical triad, you have Chesed and Gavura and Tiferet. Okay, Chesed is loving kindness. Gavura is wrath or severity. Sometimes you have to be harsh with people. So a lot of Christians tend to take it literally, turn a cheek, like literally. The teachings of the Qabalah say no. Sometimes you have to be strict with people. Sometimes you have to be harsh. You can't just give and give. Sometimes you have to kick some butt. Sometimes you have to kick some ass, So anyways, so this is loving kindness, and sometimes you have to be harsh. If you have a kid or a child and you never punish them, they're going to be a spoiled brat. If someone bums your food every day to where you don't have anything, so sometimes you have to put your foot down, and that is these opposites. So Chesed is loving kindness, Gavur is severity, which is balanced by Tiferet. And again, it is a triad. 2 opposites and the reconciling middle point. Okay? And in the Qabalah, it talks about how creation has to be balanced. And it tells an interesting story within the Qabalah that there wasn't just one universe. There were a whole bunch of universes that failed because there was a lack of balance between the forces. And then finally, this universe, everything was balanced just right, and it was just perfect. So, I don't know, that's interesting. And then the next and last triad, you have Netzach, which means victory or eternity. And you have Hod, which means splendor. And the balance between these are Yesod. Now, Netzach has been interpreted as, some people like Crowley interprets Netzach as like emotions, feeling, and things like that, passions, whereas Hod is ruled by Mercury and it's logic. And that Yesod represents the unconscious, which transcends both of these. Which, that's one way of looking at it within that type of Qabalah. But Netzach also means endurance, long-suffering, perseverance, eternity, whereas Hod is splendor. And in the Kabbalistic tree of life, Netzach and Hod represent legs or your feet. Well, your legs, which take you somewhere. I'll go a little deeper into that. And then, of course, Malchut, which is, I guess you could say, the opposite of Keter, which Keter is in Malchut, Malchut is in Keter. So anyways, you see how the Kabbalistic tree of life, you have all these opposites and the balancing of opposites. Okay, so now we are going to go a little deeper here. What was I going to say? Anyway, so we're going to look at these triads individually. And you could see that on the Kabbalistic tree of life, one side is expansive, the other is restrictive. And you have the middle way. Now, in a number of religions, the middle way is the path. And I don't like, when I teach Qabalah, I want to teach the Qabalah. I don't like to blend in Buddhism and, Reiki and all these things in. I like to keep things within a certain tradition at a time. But just for the sake of, it's interesting that you see this concept in many different traditions. In Buddhism, you have the middle way, the middle path. He tried fasting and almost starving himself to death with asceticism. It didn't work. And he also tried, Siddhartha Gautama in Buddhism, he also tried living in a palace with all the pleasures he could have. And then he went to like pure fasting where he almost starved to death. He realized the middle way. That's Buddhism. And the caduceus wand is a symbol ascribed to Mercury or Hermes and shows a staff with two serpents wound about the staff, which in yoga, these opposites, these represents the spinal column and the two currents of energy in the body. It's about the Shushumna is the spinal column, which in the Qabalah, you could say that the 10 spheres are certain centers of energy in the body. Okay. And the 22 paths are currents of energy in the body. Now the 10 Sephirot represent qualities, attributes. The 22 paths are relationships between Sephirot. For example, this path, which is the letter Dalet, connects Chokhmah and Binah. This path, which is Gimel, connects Keter and Tiferet. So the 22 paths are relationships between the Sephirot. Now the Tree of Life makes up what you call the Tselem Elohim. Now Tselem means image or reflection. The image of God, which is the image of Adam. The image of God, image of man. And so you see how the Kabbalistic Tree of Life represents the forces within man, nature, within the divine, symbolically. So, let's go to the first triad. Again, like I said, Keter is the primal state of unity. Now, Chokmah, this supernal triad, it's way too big. Sorry about that. The other day, when I made that video on the Fool, I knew that I was making the Hebrew letters weird when I was doing it, and then I kept doing it. I'm actually really good at the Hebrew and stuff, you know. I'm pretty good at it. So I don't know why I did that. And now I'm making the Sephirah like really big. Anyways. Okay. So this is the first triad. Keter, which like I said is a primal state of unity. Chokmah, which the CH is, I don't know why in English we make it a CH. It's ch. It's like you're chucking a loogie. It's ch. It's the letter ch. So it's chokmah, wisdom, and binah, which actually the kaf, if it does not have a dagesh, is a chaf. So, technically you say chokmah. So anyways, okay, not going any further into that. But anyways, so this represents, like I said, Keter is a primal point of unity. There's no differences. Chokmah is a rush of energy. Binah is what slows that down, restricts it, and gives form to things. It gives form to the energy. So you could say the force and the form that force takes. Within sexual symbolism, of course, there's the sperm, which implanted in the womb forms a child. It's within the maternal principle that takes the potential, the energy of the masculine energy, and the feminine develops it, okay, and gives it form and structure. Now, the supernal triad also represents the mind. It is the intellect. And it totally reverses your typical male-female symbolism. Within traditional gender roles, gender stuff, that thankfully we are transcending this today. But back in the olden days, logic, reason, that aspect of the mind was seen as masculine, whereas the emotional, inspiration, artistic, creative aspect was seen as more feminine. And, but this totally reverses that. In fact, in the Tree of Life, a lot of times it totally reverses what, were believed to be male-female roles, which I believe the Qabalah is all about transcending opposites, about reaching wholeness. And the great work is often symbolized by a male-female figure. It's the transcending of opposites. Oh, and, okay, I'll go into that in a second. But anyways, Binah. See, the Tree of Life, the right side is the right side of a body, the left side is the left side. So it's not like the Tree of Life is a man standing like this, it's someone standing like this. Chokmah over here, Binah over here. Binah is the left hemisphere of the brain, and that's our logic. This is logic. Chokmah is the right hemisphere of the brain that's like a burst of inspiration or insight. So Chokmah is a burst of insight. It is a flash of inspiration. It's like when a light bulb goes off in your head and you get an idea. I got an idea. Binah then takes that thought and develops it into a concept. So let's say out of the blue you get an idea. I want to build a house. I'm going to build myself a house. That spark of an idea that just came to you as an impulse is Chokmah. Then when you logically plan it out, well, I'm going to build it and I'm going to do it like this, and over here is going to be the garage, and I'm going to put some stairs right here. That logical planning is Binah. So it takes an idea and develops it and gives it form and structure. Okay, which also sort of goes back to Saturn. So Chokhmah and Binah represent the two hemispheres of the brain. Keter, which again, it totally reverses the normal symbolism, because people think of the subconscious as ruled by the moon and feminine, whereas the left hemisphere is solar and masculine. Totally reverses it. But Keter transcends the two hemispheres of the brain. This is the divine within us. Or you could say this is the crown. Keter actually means crown, not to mix this with the chakra system, because it is different. This is totally different than the chakra system. But it is the crown of the head. Keter is the spiritual direct knowing. It transcends logic or insight. Keter is the spiritual source of knowledge. So going into balancing these opposites, it takes both. Bursts of insight and logic. But it's important to go to the source of knowing, which is the spirit. Very few people, especially nowadays in our left brain thinking era, very few people are connected to a direct knowing, a direct burst of insight straight from the divine. Most people are not familiar or comfortable with that. So let's say you get like an invention, an idea seems to come from the ethers. It comes from Keter. Chokhmah. Boom, I got an idea. Binah develops that idea. So Chokhmah has two attributes. And it's called Abba, which Abba means father. There is Abba Elah, which means higher father. This aspect of Chokhmah, now these are partsufim, or faces, or aspects within the Tree of Life. Abba Elah is the part of Chokhmah that receives divine insight from Keter, the spiritual source of knowledge. The other aspect of Chokhmah is Israel Sava, which means the elder Israel. And that's the part of Chokhmah that takes the insight from Keter, this idea, this impulse, and integrates it into consciousness for Binah to develop as a concept. Now, it's interesting, which Chokhmah is a rush of energy as the creative logos or word. It's interesting that Chokhmah, okay, there's Chet. There are no numbers in Hebrew. There are numbers, but there's no way to write a number separate from a letter. The way to write a number in Hebrew is letters. In fact, if you look at the Tanakh, the Jewish Bible, you'll see that there's no numbered verses. It's letters, because letters is how you write numbers. So Chokhmah, this letter Chet is 8. Okay. Kaf is 20. Mem is 40. And He is 5. So that's 28, 68. Okay, so 73. So the gematria value of Chokhmah is 73. 73. Now it's interesting because, it's interesting because the first verse in the Torah, the first verse in the Bible, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim v'toretz has the gematria value of 2,701, which is the sum of each digit in between 1 and 73. So you could see that the first verse, Bereshit bara Elohim et Hashamayim v'teretz, at the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, was saying God created with wisdom, which is chokmah. So God created with chokmah, wisdom, which again the first word is Bereshit, which is B is the Hebrew for with or in, and Reshit beginning, but also Beresh with wisdom. So anyway, so this chokmah is a rush of energy, and it's a burst of insight. It is insight which enters like lightning into consciousness. Binah is logic and reason. Now, Binah, okay, Binah, Hebrew words come, I'm not fluent in Hebrew, by the way, I'm not. All I'm doing is sharing the little bit of Hebrew that I know. So I don't want to give off this impression that I, fluently know. I'm teaching you the little bit of Hebrew that I know. But Binah, in Hebrew, most words come from three-letter roots. So Binah, which means intelligence or understanding, it is a reference to logical knowledge. And by the way, I have lots of Jewish friends that speak Hebrew from Israel, so if I'm wrong on something, please correct me. Or any viewer, if I say something that's inaccurate or whatever, then correct me below in the comments or whatever. So as Binah comes, now correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe Binah comes from the root Bain, it's a noon final, Bain, which means between, which Binah is a type of understanding or intelligence that distinguishes this versus that. It's about weighing things. It is this versus that. So again, it is logic, which again, the letter Beit, which the letter Beit connects Keter to Binah, which I'm going to get into the magician card and Beit in the next video. Beit is the letter 2. So again, it's about duality, this versus that. So anyways, you see how both are important. Everything is not all logic and reason. And in our society, everything's about logic and reason. No. There is also this subconscious, unconscious, insight, artistic, mythological, symbolic, archetypal aspect of ourselves that is not logical. There is right brain thinking that deals with symbols, mythology, artistic. It's much deeper than 1 + 1 = 2. It's kind of like, what's that meme that was going around with the guy from The Office? And he says, love is in the air? False. Oxygen and helium is in the air. Yeah, it's figurative. Thank you for that. Anyways. So Binah, let's see how. Okay. Yeah. Oh, and let's see. Okay, and Chokmah equals 73. Letters in Binah equals 67. Okay, you add these together. 73 and 67. 140. So Chokmah plus Binah, which yes, you do that in Qabalah, because the letters are numbers. Chokmah plus Binah, all the digits or letters added together equals 140. And 140 is the sum of the squares of every number 1 through 7. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 4 is 16. 5 times 5 is 25. 6 times 6 is 36. 7 times 7 is 49. You add all these together, it equals 140. So 140 is the sum of the squares of 1 through 7, which shows that the 7 Sephirot come from the mother fathers, which are Chokhmah and Binah. So that is the supernal triad, which again, you see that yes, everything is not just logic. There's another aspect that's direct insight. And beyond that, sometimes we need to listen to the spirit of things. Crap, I'm running out of time. The next triad is Chesed, Gevurah, and Tiferet. Now, Chesed means loving kindness. It is expansive. And again, Chesed means loving kindness. It's when you give to your neighbor. It's when you love. It's when you give to charity. So this, of course, is an important spiritual quality. It's love. It's giving. Gevurah is wrath. It is restraint. It is when you don't give. Which, that's a paradox for a lot of people. Why would you not give? Chesed, Gevurah. Now, Chesed, why would you not give? Well, here's the thing. Okay, take a man and a woman that are together. Well, some people, if you just give and give and give and smother someone in love, that's going to make that other person run away. You have to have a balance. A little bit of Gevurah is a little bit of restraint. If someone bums $1 from you, give him $1. But if he asks every day, at some level, you have to have a certain level of restraint. And like when you have a kid, if you have a child, if you give them what they want all the time, then they're going to be a spoiled brat. Sometimes you have to punish the child. Sometimes you don't get what you want. And so Gevurah is about restraint. So it takes both of these, which it's real easy to get lost in, well, I'm supposed to have Gevurah too. So no, I'm not going to do this. Sometimes you have to be tough though, and this is justice. Sometimes you have to get tough with people. Sometimes you have to kick some butt, kick some ass. So a lot of Christians especially take turn a cheek literally. They take it literally, and I think kind of miss the point that no, sometimes you do have to be tough with people, or people run all over you. And that's about the balance, which is Tiferet. Now, a lot of people will take this as an excuse to not give. But here's a hint. Tiferet means beauty or harmony, but Tiferet, another word for the Sefer of Tiferet is Rachamim, which means compassion. So Tiferet is compassion. And on the Kabbalistic tree of life, it is the spiritual heart. So this shows you that when you restrain yourself, it should only be out of love and out of compassion. Rachamim. It is out of your spiritual heart. So this is called the ethical triad because it takes both hands. And Chesed is the right hand, Gevurah is the left hand. And then you have Tiferet is the balance. It takes both. But whatever action you do, if you do Gevurah severity, it should only be out of love. Whatever you do, the source should be compassion, the spiritual heart. So again, this is the balance, and it is should be the source of the other two Sephirot. Okay, and then, crap, we're running out of time. The last and final triad is Netzach, Hod, and Yesod. Now, these are taken in different ways, but again, it's all opposites. Okay, now Crowley took, and in that later kind of Qabalah teaching, Netzach is your passions and emotions, whereas Hod, ruled by Mercury, or rather, Hod rules Mercury. Hod is your logic, so you have your emotions and passions and your reason. And then Yesod is the unconscious, okay, which is the balance. Some people see it like that, But again, why would you have, if you already have it in Chokmah and Binah, why are you going to repeat it down there? Now another way to look at it, Netzach means victory and conquest. Netzach is that aspect of ourselves that wants to go out there and conquer, wants to go out there and conquer the world. Netzach means victory or conquest. But Netzach also means, where it appears in the Bible in Hebrew, Netzach means eternity, endurance, long-suffering. So it is about perpetuity, continuance, perseverance, eternity. So Netzach is about sticking to something. Hod or splendor could be seen as change. So taken that way, let's say you have a goal. Netzach is your long-term goal. It's you moving towards something. This is the plan. Hod is change. It's changing stuff up. So let's say you want to be a professor. Netzach is you going to college, working your butt off, getting this degree, keep going. It is your perseverance, Netzach. Why? Because you want conquest, you want victory to achieve this PhD and be a professor. Hod is changing it up a little bit, splendor. Go have a little fun. Break away from the routine a little. It takes both. Hod without Netzach would be irresponsible. No, it would be irresponsible. There would never be any long-term goal. Netzach without Hod would be very boring. It requires both. Okay? And Yesod is the foundation, which also Yesod is the ninth Sephirah, which it's 9 months in the womb before you have a child, and represents the genital organs on the Kabbalistic tree of life symbolically. So this is the drive, the creative force or drive before it manifests in Malkut. Now, the divine name given to Yesod, or foundation, is El Shaddai, or Shaddai El Chai, which, where does this appear in the Bible? God told Abraham, I am El Shaddai, when he gave the doctrine of circumcision. Okay, and there's a deeper gematria there, which I'm not really going to go into here, but it all connects Yesod to the reproductive organs, to drive, to fertility, to our creative aspect. So you could see, and Hod and Netzach represent the two legs. So whereas Chokmah and Binah are in the brain, that's our knowledge, okay? And Keter is the spirit. Chesed and Gevurah represent the hands, our actions, ruled by the heart, compassion. Netzach and Hod are our legs, which take us where we want to go. And Yesod is the balance. It's also the drive. It's the life force. So you could see, whereas Chesed and Gevurah are actions with our hands or arms, this is perpetuity and splendor, which is what takes us somewhere. It takes both. So however you want to see it, and of course, Keter has all the Sephirot, so it transcends opposites. And Malkut has all the other Sephirot within it, so again, it's balance. It transcends opposites. So, you see that the Kabbalistic tree of life, okay, exists on, it's 10 Sephirot, 10 spheres, with 22 paths. Okay, and okay, so you see a series of triads, and there are technically the left-hand pillar, the right-hand pillar, and the middle pillar. Okay, and it's a series of triads, which a triad, what's a triangle? What's the occult symbolism of a triangle? It's the balancing of opposites, or the power of creation that comes about from uniting opposites. Oh, damn it, I was going to do something. And one more thing before I go, to kind of drive this point home. The 22 paths, if you number them, okay, the first Sephirah is Ketos, 1. Tiferet, the next, all the middle pillar ones, okay. Tiferet is 6, the 6th Sephirah. Yesod is 9. And 10 is Malchut. You add them together, you get 26. And 26 is the number of the name of God, the 4-letter name of God. Yud, He, Vav, He, which you can see that it makes a hieroglyph of a person. You have the head, the arms, the torso, and the legs, which we'll get into that later. It's a hieroglyph of a human being. But anyways, Yud is 10, He is 5, Vav is 6, and then the He is 5, which equals 26. So you can see that the name of God, often translated as Jehovah or Yahweh, again, the letters are numbers. And the 4-lettered name of God, the numerical equivalent, is 26, which is the sum of the middle pillar. Okay? Oh, and one more thing. Yesod is the 9th Sephirah. And, let's see here. Okay. It's the 9th Sephirah. And it's, let's see here. How do you spell Yesod? Let's see. Yud is 10. Samek is 60. Let's see. Okay. Vav is 6. Dalet is 4. Okay. 10 plus 60 is 70. 76. Okay, 80. So, okay, yes. Yesod is 9. The 9th Sephirah. But also, the sum of the letters is 80. Now, Chai, which is life, is composed of a Chet. It's composed of a Chet and a Yud, which the number of Chet, Chai, is 18. Life, 1 plus 8 is 9, which of course is Yesod. But also 80, Yud is 10, Chet is 8. 10 times 8 is 80. So it's anyways. Okay, so, and when it's not about just being at a dead center. Some situations require more chesed. Some situations require more gevurah. So different situations call from different opposites. But the key is not just to be at a dead center. The key is about swinging back and forth when you need to, which is the level. Or you could say swing back and forth like a pendulum, depending on situation. It's giving each side its due, what you need, but also having a balance, giving each aspect of the personality expression. And so it shows you that balance is key. Yesod is a foundation. So it's all about balancing these opposite qualities. So anyways, that's my brief rant on the 3 columns of the Tree of Life. Thank you for joining me, and see y'all next time. Have a great day, everyone.